Hello, my name is Jitterz, and today I'll be going through an in-depth analysis of the mechanics for all of Breach's abilities. Breach's first ability is Fault Line and is binded to E by default. Fault Line is free, and Breach starts each round with one charge of the ability. When you press E, Breach will equip the ability, and once equipped, you can use the ability by pressing and releasing left click. After the ability is used, there's a 35-second cooldown before you can use it again. The range of this ability is dependent on how long you hold down left click before releasing. The ability hits players that are at least 8 meters away from you up to a maximum range that changes based on how long you charge the ability.
Right there.
The minimum range is about 18 meters and the maximum range is about 55 meters when fully charged.
Right there.
When a player is hit by the ability, they're dazed. This ability can affect both enemies and teammates. Players that are dazed have their vision blurred and their crosshair will also sway, making it hard to be accurate when trying to shoot. On top of that, players that are dazed also have reduced movement speed and their firing rate is significantly reduced.
30 seconds left.
The actual accuracy of your shots aren't really affected when dazed, so if you manage to keep your crosshair on an enemy, you will still hit them. You can tell if a player is dazed by the pulsating yellow circle with lightning bolts that appear on the agent's head. Players dazed by Fault Line are affected for a total of 2.8 seconds, and the duration is not affected by how long you charge the ability. As players come out of being dazed, their fire rate will slowly increase throughout the 2.8 seconds until going back to normal at the end of the debuff. Fault Line can hit enemies through walls. The ability can also hit enemies at different elevations. After casting the ability, there's a slight delay before Breach re-equips his weapon. This delay is 1.6 seconds. Fault Line won't affect abilities like Killjoy's turret. The area of effect of the ability can be seen on the map, but it's not very accurate to the actual range of the ability. About half of an agent's model needs to be touching the hitbox of the ability for them to be dazed. Breach's second ability is Flashpoint and is binded to Q by default and is Breach's flash ability. Flashpoint costs 200 credits per charge and Breach can purchase up to 3 charges per round. When Q is pressed, Breach equips the ability and the ability can be cast by pressing left click while facing a wall.
Flash out.
Breach's flash is different than other characters in the game like Phoenix and Yoru because it's used by shooting it through a wall and flashing on the other side instead of flashing around the wall. I'll leave an annotation on screen for my video where I explain all of Yoru's mechanics. Players are flashed whenever there's a direct line of sight between it and the player, but the duration of the effect depends on whether or not they're looking towards the flash. If a player is looking towards the flash, they're blinded for 3 seconds. If the flash is on the edge of their screen, they're blinded for about 1.7 seconds. And if the flash is behind the enemy, they'll only be flashed for about 1.1 seconds. Breach is able to shoot his flash through many objects in the game, including many of the walls, boxes, and many other pieces of geometry on the various maps. I said many of the walls because there are some walls in the game that Breach cannot flash through. Usually it's when the other side of the wall isn't within bounds. But there are some parts of walls you can't flash through, and I'm not entirely sure why. This wall on Split, for example, can be flashed through on most of it, but there are some areas where you can't flash through it for some reason. After casting his flash, there's a delay of 1.5 seconds before Breach re-equips his weapon and is able to shoot again. Because of this, it's generally better to use your flash to set up your teammates for a kill rather than yourself, since you miss out on a large portion of the flash's effect because you're still unable to shoot. Breach's third ability is Aftershock and is binded to the C key by default. Aftershock costs 100 credits and Breach can only hold up to 1 charge per round. When C is pressed, Breach equips the ability, and just like Flashpoint, the ability can be cast when facing a wall or object and is shot through the wall. Aftershock causes an explosion on the other side of the wall or geometry it's cast on that can cause a lot of damage to whoever's in the range of the ability. The AoE is indicated by a large fiery effect. There's also an indicator on player screens to let them know they're within range of the ability. When used, there's about a 2.5 second delay before the ability detonates, giving players a chance to react and move away from the blast. The ability deals over 150 damage to players within 4 meters of the wall, one-shotting players with full shield.
Right here.
As players move further away from the wall, they take less damage from the
Right here.
ability.
Right here.
Being too far to the right or left doesn't change the damage. Aftershock can affect some enemy abilities like Killjoy Turret, destroying them through walls. Similar to his other abilities, after casting Aftershock, Breach has a delay of about 1.3 seconds before he can shoot his gun again. Breach's ultimate is Rolling Thunder and requires 7 ultimate points before it can be used. Breach's ultimate has a large AoE and knocks up and dazes any enemy hit by it. Rolling Thunder hits players in a large cone which is visualized on the map. Just like his E, this cone can be very misleading. A player is located at the center of the agent's picture, so if the ultimate's cone is not touching the center of the agent's indicator, then the ultimate won't hit. Here you can see my ultimate didn't hit Killjoy until the cone on the map was touching the back wall screen, even though the cone was touching her indicator well before that.
Let's go!
The shockwave starts closest to Breach and quickly moves towards the end of the range, so enemies that are furthest away from the ultimate have time to react. There's a loud voice line said by Breach when he casts the ultimate.
Off your feet!
When the ability's cast, the area that is affected will also have a visually cracked effect on the surfaces, giving you the chance to try to move out of the way. The daze from Breach's ultimate is very similar to the daze from his E, the only difference is the duration. The daze from Rolling Thunder lasts about 5.5 seconds compared to a little less than 3 seconds from his E. Just like his E, Breach's ultimate is able to travel to different elevations. The ultimate's knockup will knock you off the bomb when trying to plant or defuse.
Off your feet!
The actual amount a player is knocked up is dependent on their elevation relative to Breach when he uses his ultimate. Players on the same elevation will have a medium-sized knockup. But if you're at a higher elevation than Breach, the knockup and knockback will be much more severe. Similarly, if you're at a lower elevation than Breach, then the knockup will be very minor, almost unnoticeable. You'll still get knocked off of planting or defusing the bomb though.
Off your feet!
Finally, getting kills on enemies that are affected by your ultimate will charge up your next ultimate.
Let's go!
Thank you for watching my video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed or learned something new about Breach, and subscribe for more Valorant related content.